evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Sultanate participates in the annual military music festival, The Return of Troops, at the Whitehall Field in the United Kingdom. The governance of the Sultanate continues celebrating the blessed Eid al-Fitr. And Tehran condemns new U.S. sanctions targeting its petrochemical industry, saying the U.S. is not serious about pursuing negotiations. Those are the headlines, and now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty King Abdullah II ibn Hussein of Jordan on the anniversary of his assumption to the throne. The Sultanate participated in the annual celebration of the Military Music Festival on the occasion of the withdrawal of troops and the military parade at the Whitehall Field for the Royal Cavalry Guard in the British capital London, under the auspice of Princess Kate Middleton, Duchess of Cambridge, with the presence of top personalities from various countries in the world. The Sultanate was represented in the celebration by Lieutenant General Ahmed bin Harith Al Napani, Chief of Staff of the Sultanate's Armed Forces, with participation of the Music Band of the Royal Guard of Oman. The RGO Music Band participated in the event of the celebration by presenting a number of military music pieces, which attracted a huge audience, in addition to presenting a public music show in one of the music halls in London on this occasion. Rejoicing blessed Eid al-Fitr, citizens of the Walai of Sohar organized a ceremony in front of the historical Sohar fort, including a number of both Bedouin and coastal Omani traditional singing arts practices by the citizens of the Walaya, in addition to poems and horse matches. The event expressed love and loyalty for His Majesty Sultan Qaboos and the happiness of the Eid days. Citizens of the Walaya of Wadi al-Mawali also organized a celebration on the occasion of the blessed Eid al-Fitr. The celebrations included a number of traditional and public art shows, cultural competitions, entertainment events, and corners for small and medium-sized businesses. The event witnessed wide participation from various society segments. The Sultanate was elected within the group of countries which represent geographical groups to hold the post of Vice President of the General Assembly of the United Nations for the 74th round. This came in the elections conducted in New York for the 74th round for UN General Assembly. The permanent representative of Nigerian Ambassador Tijan Mohammed also was elected as the president of the round, as a successor to the Ecuadorian Maria Fernanda, who was president of the 73rd round. It is worth mentioning that the 74th round of the General Assembly will start in September and run for 1 year. Iran has condemned U.S. sanctions targeting its petrochemical industry, saying they prove the U.S. President Donald Trump is not serious about pursuing negotiations. An Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman said the move amounts to economic terrorism and is in line with other hostile American policies. Earlier, the Trump administration imposed sanctions on Iran's largest petrochemical company for allegedly doing business with the paramilitary Revolutionary Guard. Trump has ramped up sanctions on Iran since withdrawing the United States from Iran's 2015 nuclear accord with world powers last year, while saying as recently as this week that he is open to talks with Tehran. President Donald Trump has put on hold his plan to begin imposing tariffs on Mexico on Monday, saying the U.S. ally will take strong measures to reduce the flow of Central American migrants into the United States. But the deal he announced last night after returning from a trip to Europe falls short of some of the dramatic overhauls pushed for by his administration. A joint declaration released by the State Department said the U.S. will immediately expand a program that returns asylum seekers to Mexico after they have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border. According to the agreement, Mexico will offer jobs, healthcare, and education to those people. Mexico has agreed to unprecedented steps to increase enforcement to curb irregular migration, including the deployment of the Mexican National Guard throughout the country, especially on its southern border with Guatemala. The State Department also said Mexico is taking decisive action to dismantle human smuggling and trafficking organizations, as well as their illicit financial and transportation networks. Ethiopia's Prime Minister urged Sudan's military rulers and civilian opposition to exercise bravery in trying to agree on a transition to democracy after the worst bloodshed since the overthrow of President Omar al-Bashir. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed flew to Khartoum from Addis Ababa to try to mediate the country's crisis, held separate talks with the country's ruling military council and leaders of the Declaration of Freedom and Change Forces, an alliance of protesters and opposition parties. The visit came days after forces stormed a protest camp outside the Defense Ministry in central Khartoum, where demonstrators were demanding civilian rule. A leader of the opposition alliance said Abiy proposed setting up a transitional council comprising of 8 civilians and 7 military officers with a rotating presidency. He added that the opposition demanded that the military rulers take responsibility for the bloodshed, allow an international investigation into violence, and free political prisoners. Still to come in our news bulletin. Old Castle Museum in the Walai of Al-Kamal and Al-Wafi is of historical value and a civilized legend that records history of the ancestors.
بادر بقيد اسمك في السجل الانتخابي. تسجيلك حق وصوتك أمانة. انتخابات أعضاء مجلس الشورى للفترة 9 مع تحيات وزارة الداخلية.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The Ministry of Finance stressed the readiness of the electronic system for registration of taxpayers, subject to the excise tax, which will be implemented starting from June 15th. The ministry drafted the legislative requirements, which is expected to be issued within a short time, pointing out the completion of remaining procedures for automated links with relevant government agencies to activate the system in a timely manner according to the target timeline. The working group concerned with the implementation of the excise tax has prepared a guide to explain the implementation, processes, and procedures for taxpayers. Museums are the present eyes on the past for the details it reveals to the visitors. Old Castle Museum in the Walai of Al-Kamal and Al-Wafi is one of these museums, which was created by personal efforts to carry the heritage of the ancestors. The museum includes more than 60,000 archaeological pieces and old manuscripts from different ages, which makes it a historical and heritage reference for all citizens of the Walaya and the Governorate. The corners of the museum narrate the lifestyle of old Omani people and introduce the deep-rooted historical civilization of Oman to the visitors and new generations. Now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over most of the governorates, with chances of low cloud and fog late at night and early morning over the coasts of the Arabian Sea. Winds will be southeasterly light to south light to moderate, and seas will be slight with a maximum wave height of 1.25 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Sultanate participates in the annual military music festival, The Return of Troops, at the Whitehall Field in the United Kingdom. Governorates of the Sultanate continue celebrations of blessed Eid al-Fitr. And Tehran condemns new U.S. sanctions targeting its petrochemical industry, saying the U.S. is not serious about pursuing negotiations. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsrooms and the studio, it's good night.